You may have seen the update to Quake 2 that enabled ray tracing, but did you ever imagine that Doom 2 would get ray tracing? How the heck would that even work with their crazy technology? Well, today we're checking out a mod that does exactly that, and honestly, it's incredible. Now this mod is called Doom 2 Raytraced, and it is way more than just adding ray tracing to a game, and clearly it took a long time to make. It's a complete overhaul for the iconic FPS that adds ray-traced global illumination, shadows, reflections, refractions, and fluid simulated blood. It also replaces all the sprites with voxel-based models and includes extensive reworks to the lighting in every level. And it's all done to an exceptional level, while reinterpreting the original vision of the game in a respectful way. Now, using the mod's built-in hotkey to swap out the lighting, you can see how dramatic the difference is. All of the original light sources just come alive, casting dynamic light everywhere and filling the previously flat interiors with vibrant colors and shading. Now, depending on how much you want to change the mod, I personally wasn't as big a fan of the voxelized enemies, as they take a little bit away from the original feeling of the game, but the mod overall is stunning, and you can simply disable the voxels if you want. Now, in the past, I've checked out several different Doom mods that attempt to overhaul the visuals. Brutal Doom is probably one of the most notable examples, with some additional mods that use tools like reshade to add new lighting. But those mods often make radical changes to the core gameplay of Doom that makes it feel less like playing Doom and more like playing a reinterpretation of what somebody else thinks that game could be or should be in a modern setting, which in itself is actually really cool, but it's not always what I'm looking for when I want to go back and play Doom. But Doom 2 Raytraced is more or less the original Doom 2 experience, but with RTX on. There's no changes to the enemies or weapons, no weird HUD or additional mechanics like reloading. And the ray tracing isn't a performance hog, so you can run it at an incredibly high FPS. Now, as I mentioned before, it's clear a ton of time was spent on this. It's not just an RTX on switch that achieved these results. Basically, every asset in this game was rebuilt with a custom renderer used to add path tracing. The mod is also a combination of other mods all working together to create the final presentation. And it's impressive how close to the original game everything looks, considering the immense amount of work that has actually gone into updating it while staying true to the original. The new lighting adds so much atmosphere and realism to the corridors of Doom 2 that truly complement the original vision. It's almost like how you imagine the game looking as a kid, and the fact that the original gameplay is still intact is just icing on the cake for me. And again, it runs great. I don't think I ever dipped below 60 FPS, which is impressive considering that it's all more or less real ray tracing the whole time. Now, to go with the new lighting system, the mod's creator also added new lighting sources and props to just enhance the effect. Doors and wall panels all have lights added where you would logically expect them to be based on the original art. Areas of the map where ray tracing would likely result in a pitch black room has subtle new lighting that adds exposed bulbs or environmental effects. And the transition areas between the indoors and outdoors are genuinely stunning thanks to the addition of volumetric fog that give cascading sunlight rays. It's almost weird to say, but I felt like I could feel the warmth of the sunlight as I stepped out into the environment, which is wild to say about a game like Doom 2 especially. The lighting has so much more personality to it. It creates a really strong sense of contrast. The lights aren't just brighter or more colorful, but the dark areas are darker and more foreboding. And coming out into that warm sunlight feels like a much more drastic transition, considering that I was just coming from sewers lit by the glow of filthy water and the gunfire of demonic soldiers. Now, the ray tracing also helps with signposting and visual cues. Toxic pools actually look like they're full of radioactive goo instead of just kind of weirdly greenish water. Being able to see the color of a key door glowing from distance gives a great sense of direction. And of course, the reflective surfaces and mirrors let you bask in all of the glory that is Doom Guy. Now, for all of the praise that this mod absolutely deserves, it of course isn't perfect. The particle simulation used for the blood results in kind of a cartoony effect that I feel is a bit too glossy and rounded for the more angular and gritty feel of the game. Some of the ray trace light sources, like these standing lights, are a bit inconsistent. In one area, they'll be brightly illuminating the surrounding area. In others, they'll be off with a light source added somewhere else, which just kind of looks weird. And some of the added models, particularly the mirrors, feel weirdly out of place. I mean, maybe the Hell Demons like to make sure they're looking good as they patrol the environment, but some of it clearly is there to show off the reflections versus complementing the atmosphere. Now, one of the cooler things about this mod is that the creator has made it compatible with RTX Remix basically out of the box, which if you've been following my past videos, you would know it can take a bit of work to get Remix working. But with this one, all you have to do is install the Remix wrapper files into the mods directory and launch it. This gives you the ability to run the mod with NVIDIA's ray reconstruction tech that helps with ghosting and denoising. Unfortunately, I think it needs a little more tweaking as I wasn't able to get a capture working with the Remix editor. There's also a pretty significant performance penalty when running the game with Remix enabled, so it's hard to justify playing it like this over the base version, but that's not to say that it couldn't get improved over time. Now, Remix support aside, it's really impressive how easy it is to get this mod installed and playing. It has its own launcher with a custom intro cinematic and a completely custom settings menu that gives you access to important options like DLSS, fluid sim options, and more. The mod even has its own installer that basically handles everything for you. All you need is the Doom 1+2 collection installed via Steam. Now, overall, I gotta say, I'm genuinely surprised by how good this mod is. Aside from maybe the voxel replacements for the sprites, it feels like a genuine remaster of Doom 2 that respects the original art while enhancing it with the visuals of a cutting-edge game engine. And revisiting the game like this felt like looking through the eyes of myself as a kid and experiencing Doom 2 how I imagined it looking in the 90s. The ray tracing isn't just a gimmick or a trick to show that it can be done, but instead it's a legitimate enhancement to the game's presentation. I think it makes a great case for using ray tracing as a tool for bringing classic games to life in a way that still respects the original artistic vision. I'd be curious to know what games you think could be enhanced by this same sort of treatment, or which games rather you would want to see remastered in this sort of way. With Bungie throwing the name Marathon back into the limelight recently, I can't help but feel like it would be cool to re-experience Marathon with this same type of treatment, considering that Marathon looks very similar to the original Doom games. Or since the work has already been done in the Doom engine, why not look at another game using the same engine? Like, Chex Quest, right? That'd be sick with ray tracing. If you got some better ideas, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop me a like, hit that subscribe button for more content like it, and ding that notification bell to beat the YouTube algorithm with me. Up next, check out my video where I take Battlefield 1942 and inject as much RTX Remix features into it as possible. It's very interesting to see how far it can go and some of the limitations that still exist within Remix. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.